Thank you. At the outset, I wish to thank Dr. Batra, Mr. Rezvi, and the BW team for having invited me here. And I had the benefit of hearing the two excellent talks, both by Dr. Ashish and Dr. Batra. At the outset, I need to confess that I am not an expert in happiness. I am also trying to understand, along with you, try to discover how happiness can help. But having said that, I think I need to want to make a statement. So I think the topic has been said, happiness, the role of leadership, which I selected it. For me, three things are important if you want to be happy. As Dr. Ashish said, happiness is not just a fun and a frolic. Today's world, I think pandemic, as he said, rightly accelerated and brought more focus, is that happiness for any workplace, either it is an entrepreneurial or it's a corporate world or your own practice or your own life, has become integrated into part of your system. It's one of your DNAs. It is no longer a HR job. I need to say my background. I spent 52 years in the corporate world, and I have to say that I work different functions, but primarily in HR. It is not the role of HR. I think this is the mistake people commit. It is the role of leadership. For me, three aspects: the role of leadership, the culture, and the kind of people you have. That makes any organization of any kind, whether it's a two-man organization or 20,000 people organization, that makes a difference. And I have to say, if you realize that, it makes our job much easier. I think I've seen the flow of the program. It has been very well structured. Culture is important. People are important. But ultimately, the leadership plays an important role. Having spent this, just imagine myself, I think I want to bring that awareness. We start with some myths. Happiness means only a company where you have only young and energetic teenagers, they can make it fun. Thank God it's Friday, you have some pajama parties, you have a discourse. That is not just happiness. That is the myth people have created. At any time you can be happy regardless of any gender or age. You see, out of my 52 years, 25, 26 years I have spent without any internet, okay, and without a mobile phone. Forget about without any social media. You see, after 25 years, I continue to work till recently. That I'm very fortunate, because my chairman said, Mr. Ananjit Singh, when I moved from JSK, after my retirement, I was an advisor. Dwarka, you are happy because you are very well contented. I think the problem comes when you compare yourself with somebody, then all your happiness go. I just want to give you a very practical example. When you give a reward or a promotion or recognition to an employee, he feels very happy at that time. You got a promotion or you got 10% or 12%. The moment the peers, one of his batchmates gets 14%, all this happiness is. This is not what, don't compare your others, don't suffer from peer group syndromes and others. Then you're burning out. All the time you're looking what is X got, what Y got. If he got more than me, why he got more than me? That is not it. Compare yourself, you set your standards, set your goal, and then only you can achieve. If you start comparing, no records will stand forever. But I think you need to compare, you need to compete with yourself. And the second aspect I want to say is a leader. When I started my management training scheme under DCM, Dr. Charatram, I think after confirmation, how small things brings a lot of happiness to you. And that's what I want to illustrate. Happiness doesn't come you do big shows or recognized in front of 10,000 people. Sometimes you don't realize small things makes you feel very happy. You can never forget. This is an incident happened in 71. When I was confirmed as a management trainee, I used to work with Dr. Charatram. Most of you may not know who is Dr. Charatram, but he was the Dion of DCM group. He was the chairman and managing director. He gave me a confirmation letter. He said, I'm sending you a very tough assignment. I just want to repeat. I'm sending you a tough assignment to Lucknow, But if you do well, your luck starts now. Okay? I'm sending you to Lucknow in a tough assignment, but if you do well, your luck starts now. What does it mean? After 52 years, I am relating to it. That has created a lot of impact on you. You feel better, you feel happier. So I think what I'm trying to say, without laboring on this, small things makes a difference. Everything needs to be done in a big group and with a bang. Show you can get the result outcome, how you touch the cards. And secondly, please don't think I just go little bit a contrary view. I want to generate some debate later. Don't think everything you do well for a person makes that person happy. But even if you give a promotion, you give a reward, the way you convey to him, the way you deal with him, give it as a matter of course. You're walking, I'm going to the airport, just take your promotion letter. That doesn't give a happiness to him. I think even if it's a tough decision, I just want to relate to an instance. It is a person who worked with us in GSK for 30 years. He outlived his utility, and we need to make a conversation with him. When we made a very conversation, the way we converse with him, I think the outcome is not good. He will feel unhappy because he may not have the job after that. But the way it was presented and talked, he said, you give golden handshake and all that without getting into details. He said, we have to give 3 months notice. He said, can I make one request? Yes, please. He worked in a small town. He's a very senior guy there. I understand the reasons. I'm not surprised, though may not be happy. Can you give me 5 months? Don't worry about the compensation. I said, may I know the reason? He said, my daughter is getting married after 3 months. Okay? And, this is a small town. It will be stigma for me. I don't have a job at that time. What I'm trying to say is, Dr. Batra talked about the empathy or compassion. It is not that you break the rules. But, if you try to address the issues, the pulse of the people is what leaders should know. If you know the pulse of the people, you can address many things. There's a famous book on this, First Break All Rules. That means, when you have that ability, breaking rules means not breaching the rules. There is a way of framing the rules. And last but not the least, Dr. Atreya taught me as a leader, cash, K-A-S-H. I think you need to have a knowledge, you need to have a attitudes, you need to have a skills. Ultimately, what makes a person happier, healthier, is when you have a good habits. I think we talk about knowledge, attitude, skills, we don't talk about the habits. Dr. Batra referred to about the walking. Many people walk, everybody is equal. But I keep walking sometimes. The fellow is on phone all the time for 45 minutes. What is the fun in walking? You are occupied. I say, we'll set up the call. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think, don't take this excuse. I have to work 24/7. I worked for 25 years, 27 years without a mobile, and some of you maybe have done it without that. I think the whole idea is a leader is one who can cope up with change. Everybody said, how can you be? I will be 75 in next 1 week. Okay, but it's a question of whether you are young or old. The question is, you are contextual. If you want to make it as a leader happier, you are able to interact or understand the youngsters, millennials versus the old time. Are you ability to manage from Mali to Malik? That should be the ability of that to bring that happiness, the environment. He talked about Dr. Ashish on the culture. That is how you build. Everybody should feel. GSK used to say one thing. He talked about it. I'll just take 2 more minutes. He said, when you want to, one of the measurements, he talked about engagement. I go one step further. One survey of GSK, our mission is to make people healthier, happier. And in doing so, one of the important thing is, are you proud to be associated with the company? That used to be the global 5 questions. That is the one question which you give a lot of importance. Why? Because it is not just keep giving some kudos or titles, it will help. You have to have a psychic income. He should come from within. Why should I should work for this company. I feel a sense of pride. I'm a GSK and I'm a Lever or a P&G or a Google or Microsoft, any company, or Aditya Birla Group or Tata's. Why? That sense of pride has to come. There's no point in just saying, please, engagement scores. Engagement scores can change. That score used to be always 90, more than 90. The year it has come down, the global board used to get worried. That means there is an issue. So you need to address issues somewhere else, not just to say how to make happy by just smiling one day. It has to come from within. So last thing my boss used to say is, the day you get up from in the morning and you think, oh my God, I need to go to office, I need to see my manager, or I need to work with my colleagues, that is the day you need to think quietly, reflect on it. There is something wrong with me, or something wrong with the organization or my leaders, or something wrong with both of us, and how I can address it. I think, that is more important. In this context, while concluding, I don't want to keep on repeating, but you see, one is the leadership, one is the culture of the organization. You see, now there is no work and there is life, everything is integrated. I'm not saying it's balance. I think it's a work-life integration. Nobody has given importance to happiness the way we are giving it. Wellness has become very important. Wellness leads to happiness. And secondly, it is not what you do at work. Now the boundaries have changed. It is the work, workers, gig workers, workplace, and well-being, the 4 Ws. But the most important thing to connect is the leader who makes things happen in this constantly changing world. No longer it is valid if you say that command and control are boundaries in working. That has gone. But don't give the excuse saying, there is a, how do you balance between the high tech and high touch? It can be done provided you have that intention to do it. This is the way a leader has to create it. So one of the things I learned by reading one of the finest books on this is Joy of Leadership by Tal Ban. And I really borrow that and try to practice it. I'm not a perfect nor an expert. He used the word sharp. That means understand your strengths. If you want to become happy, focus on your strengths. Don't keep on worrying about too much. You should be conscious about your weaknesses. Then you talk about the, happiness will come when you have that sharp mentality, because, when you're talking about the absorption or relationships or a purpose in which you do, it is important that you need to focus on your strengths. Don't try to be, I will get an idea one day and I will deliver it. You keep on doing it. Try to do what you can do, you do well. Then you will always succeed in that. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. I don't know what it made any sense to me, but I have realized one thing, how small things can motivate and help people. Everything is not being a mega one. This is a journey, and it will continue to go. But I'm glad that Business World, along with this Happiness One, has started this initiative. And it is not just a HR role. This is a business role. It has to come from the leader with an inclusive culture, with a drive to achieve results, both for the person as well as for the organization. So to conclude, there are 4 kinds of people. People who watch things happening, people who do not know what's happening, people to whom things happen, but distinguished minority are those who makes things happen. I wish you all fall under the distinguished minority and be a leader for yourself and for your organization, and drive forward this happiness. Happiness doesn't lead to performance, but actually happiness leads to performance, not performance leads to happiness. Please remember, that is a myth people commit. For me, if you're happy, you can perform well. It is not that you perform well, you become happy. Thank you very much.